today is Grace Radha Krishna Prabhu. Prabhu, as I said, doesn't need any introduction. But for the new devotees who are joined today, so here is the introduction. Prabhu is a monk. He's a spiritual mentor and a spiritual teacher, primarily based in Houston, Texas. But he travels all around the world, Australia, China, Hong Kong, Singapore, America, India, giving talks on spiritual subjects, Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, and various courses authorized Bhakti Sastri and Bhakti Vaibhav courses also Prabhu conducts. He is also an authority for Vedic studies in Texas area. So we are truly blessed to have Prabhu's association today. So with that, let us welcome Radha Krishna Prabhu by loudly chanting Hare Krishna mantra one time. Hare Krishna, Hare
Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
So over to you, Radha Krishna Prabhu.
Thank you, Satyasar Prabhu. Right, so when I asked Satyasar Prabhu what to speak on, he said anything I want to. So I decided to speak from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 5, Narada's instructions on Srimad Bhagavatam for Vyasadeva, text 23. So I will just chant and then I'll speak on that. Aham puratita bhave bhavam mune dasyastu kasyaschana vedavadinam nirupito balaka eva yoginam shushrusane pravrishi nirvivikshatam. O Muni, in my past life, in the last millennium, I was born as the son of a certain maidservant engaged in the service of Brahmanas who were following the principles of Vedanta. When they were living together during the 4 months of the rainy season, I was engaged in their personal service. Purport. The wonder of an atmosphere surcharged with devotional service to the Lord is briefly described herein by Sri Narada Muni. He was the son of the most insignificant parentage. He was not properly educated. Still, because his complete energy was engaged in the service of the Lord, he became an immortal sage. Such is the powerful action of devotional service. The living entities are the marginal energy of the Lord, and therefore they are meant for being properly utilized in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. When this is not done, one situation is called Maya. Therefore, the illusion of Maya is at once dissipated as soon as one's full energy is converted in the service of the Lord instead of in sense enjoyment. From the personal example of Sri Narada Muni in his previous birth, it is clear that the service of the Lord begins with the service of the Lord's bona fide servants. The Lord says that the service of his servants is greater than his personal service. Service of the devotee is more valuable than the service of the Lord. One should therefore choose a bona fide servant of the Lord constantly engaged in his service. Accept such a servant as the spiritual master and engage himself in the spiritual master's service. Such a spiritual master is the transparent medium by which to visualize the Lord, who is beyond the conception of the material senses. By service of the bona fide spiritual master, the Lord consents to reveal himself in proportion to the service rendered. Utilization of the human energy in the service of the Lord is the progressive path of salvation. The whole cosmic creation becomes at once identical with the Lord as soon as service in relation with the Lord is rendered under the guidance of a bona fide spiritual master. The expert spiritual master knows the art of utilizing everything to glorify the Lord And therefore, under his guidance, the whole world can be turned into the spiritual abode by the divine grace of Lord's servant. So, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Yagyanathmirandasya Jananjana Shalakaya Chakshuvanmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Mukam Karati Vachalam Pangum Langete Girim Yakripadamam Vande Shri Gurum Dinataranam Paramanandamadım Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram Aham Puratita Bhave Bhavam Mune Dasyastu Kasyaschana Veda Vadinam Nirupito Balaka Eva Yoginam Shushrushane Pravrishi Nirvivikshatam. In the last millennium, I was born as the son of a certain maidservant, engaged in the service of Brahmanas who were following the principles of Vedanta. When they were living together during the 4 months of the rainy season, I was engaged in their personal service. So we are seeing, actually this is in the chapter 5, is about Narada explaining to Vyasadeva. If you have read the Srimad Bhagavatam, you would know the Vyasadeva, having compiled the Srimad Bhagavatam, that was his first version 1, but when he did that, he wasn't so satisfied. And originally, his Bhagavatam did not glorify Krishna sufficiently, or not really properly. So therefore, he was feeling very despondent, and he was meditating, and he was thinking about his spiritual master. And so then his spiritual master then came, and then, because Narad Muni is such a divine personality, he could understand the heart of his disciple Vyasadeva, and immediately he pinpointed the problem. And in their discussion, Vyasa wanted to also understand Narada's position. And so Narada is revealing the potency of the Bhagavatam, or listening to the pastimes, the glorification of Krishna, and what it enables, or what it changes or allows us to connect with the Supreme Personality, how it happens. So he is revealing his previous life, or he's giving a history of his previous life to Vyasadeva. And what was his previous life? So he says, I was born a son of a maidservant. So Srila Prabhupada mentions that maidservant means Sudrani. Generally, in the previous yugas, they are engaged as like a maid within the household of the wealthy Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, like that. And so they go and do service. So nowadays we also have maids, but it's slightly different. The maids, servants, or Sudrani in this case, they were treated much better than what we treat the maids nowadays. Nowadays you pay them by the hour, and then if it's not happy, you fire them and stuff like that. But in those cases, it's more like a family member. They take care of their life, they pay them everything very well, very nicely. It was more religious activity. So what was what was Narada Muni's position? He was a son of such a maidservant. Of course, in the I guess there's some celestial blessing from the heavenly planets. So anyway, Narada Muni is describing his position in his previous lifetime. It was in a previous millennium. So
I think we lost Prabhu.
This looks like Prabhu.
Okay, I'll call him.
wonder. There was a video disconnection.
Yes, Prabhu, audio and video both, Prabhu.
Oh, really? I could hear all of you though. Yeah. Anyway, I didn't say anything before I went off. The reason why Narada is mentioning that he was a son of a maidservant is to highlight the power or the potency of the devotional service, actually. It doesn't require any qualification. Anyone can take it up. You do not have to be of a high birth. So he's saying he's a son of a maidservant. He didn't say, I was born of a very high class Brahmana or a Vaishnava. So maidservant, Sudrani, low class. Prabhupada says it's low class birth. Low class in the sense that they are not able to understand spiritual topics, or able to take up something that is tangible in society. You know, they can only do some services that are minimally or not so well recognized. So that's his point of saying the person was low class. So but we can see, or we can appreciate and understand that even though he was in such a position, Narada Muni became the greatest Muni. Everybody knows Narada Muni. And so here he's describing his own life, and then we can appreciate that. So the other thing he mentions in the verse is that, well, later on you can also read that he actually was a young boy, actually. Around maybe 4 or 5 years old, you know, and generally young boys means, or young girl for that matter, what do they really know, right? What knowledge do they know? They're just eating, sleeping, and that's about it, you know, and giving problems to the parents and others. Yeah? So he was not a knowledgeable or learned boy. He was not like Prahlad Maharaj, who was born with all the knowledge, you know, who was blessed with the knowledge. But Narada Muni was just a simple boy. His point is he was simple boy, no good education at all, and he wasn't even born in a very aristocratic family at all. That means not wealthy, not opulent, not rich. His father wasn't working for IBM or some other big shop company where they can pay for, you know, pay his money to good schools, you know. So he was simply a maidservant's son. And of course, if you read in the Bhagavatam, you'll find that he doesn't say who his father is also. So Srila Prabhupada says that, you know, this when he doesn't mention the father, it means that you know, he is actually a Dasi Putra. It's interesting. Prabhupada comes to that conclusion, which means that in previous ages, not so much nowadays. Nowadays is all nonsense. But in previous ages, even the kings, even though they were very powerful, they didn't just marry one princess or a few princes. They also had relationship with the maidservants also. So it may seem like a shocking for us, but that was the culture then. You know, very powerful Kshatriyas. They may have the few. Even the case of, you look at the Kauravas, right? You know, Dhritarashtra. He was the first son, and then you had. Remember the pastime of when Vichitra Virya and Chitraganda, they passed away, and so they didn't have any children. So Ambika had to conceive the child from Vyasadeva. So when Ambika was supposed to come, Ambalika. So when Ambika was supposed to conceive the second time from Vyasadeva, she refused. She was so afraid of seeing the sage, and so she refused. Instead, she called her maidservant, and she actually served Vyasadeva nicely, and he blessed her with a very powerful son, Vidura. But Vidura wasn't rejected, you know. So he was a brother of Dhritarashtra, but he could never take the position of the kingdom, or so to speak. But But the point I'm saying is the Kshatriya kings used to have relationship with their mates also. So it's not like something different. So therefore, I think the connection is going to go away again. Is that all right?
It's okay so far, good. Prabhu.
Okay, okay. It was interrupting in my side. So, all right. So when the Kshatriya kings marry, along with the queens, the queen will have many girlfriends and many maidservants, and they all come together with the princess or the queen. So Srila Prabhupada said it was a good solution those days. So that because the population density there was higher female population than male, so it balances out like that. So a lot of ladies don't feel left out because they get to marry, and so he found that to be a better social problem than what it is now. Okay. And so, yeah, so he was Dasi Putra, Narada Muni, just like Vidura, but they are not neglected. Okay, they are never neglected. Nowadays, you can see single women having to chase around the cities, council members asking for help, going through court cases. So it's a social problem. But in those days, in the Vedic system, it wasn't like that. They were not neglected. They were actually equally treated, taken care very nicely, actually. But the only thing is they cannot become the heir to the throne. They cannot take the become a king or so on. So it is like that. That's the only restriction. Otherwise, Vidura was the brother. He was always a brother. He was a minister. He could give all kinds of instructions to Dhritarashtra. But the only thing is he can never become the king. So that was the only restriction. But that was a system that worked, and it helps a society maintain and sustain itself at a higher consciousness rather than what's happening nowadays. Now, if you compare Vidura with Narada Muni, it's totally different because Vidura was born in a very wealthy family, whereas Narada is in his case, he says, I didn't have anybody. I was just an ordinary son of a maidservant. And because in that case, he could do no other service except to serve his mother. And they remained in one location. And in that place, they were not recognized also as someone special. They were nothing actually. But still, even though he was nobody in his birth as a Shudra, Narada still became a very powerful sage because of devotional service. Nirupita Balaka Eva Yoginam. So he was appointed to be a servant of a devotee or a group of devotees. So they came to visit his home during the month of, he says very clearly, the rainy season. So when during those time when they came to serve him, or rather he served those people, he got the benedictions or the blessing. So importance that we should take from here is associating with devotees is very, very important. We shouldn't take it for granted. Our situation may be in different circumstances and so on. Sometimes we may not appreciate one another, but based on what Narada is saying, this is very important. Very important, because a little service he gave to this wonderful devotees, and he was elevated to become Narada Muni, traveling interplanetary system, and giving people the spiritual life, Balaka, he says, Balaka, he was a little boy only, that's all. So all they did was he was standing around the sages. Now, Srila Prabhupada also says these sages who came to visit them, they were not ordinary. He says they were Bhakti Vedantas. That means a very advanced devotees, actually, very advanced. But anyway, in the 4 months of rainy season, they visited and stayed in that location where Narada Muni and his mother had the opportunity to serve them. So they would say, you boy, you come here, all right, you take this, you wash my clothes. Prabhupada says like that. You do my bed, right? If you have served your spiritual master, I'm not sure how many of you had the opportunity, but that is how the spiritual master is. They'll tell you, hey, come here, hey, Satyasa, come here, make my bed, or right? Gopal, come here, make my bed, or clean my dhotis, wash my kurta, right? Where's my shoes, bring my shoes, right? Or maybe he'll tell different devotee, maybe she'll say, Sri Devi, please cook for me. So all these are services. So the guru engages the devotees like that, and therefore they are given the opportunity to make advancement, because gurus are advanced. So in the same way, in the Bhakti Vedanta, when they were visiting, they made him like a servant, and he was doing all this service. Unknowingly, he didn't know what he was doing. All he knew is, I have to serve them because my mom wanted me to serve them. Little boy, he didn't have any complicated intelligence like present day little kids. They're very much more complicated than those days. Right? So, and as you read the Bhagavatam in the later verses, it'll be clearly described that he was only doing little service to them. So it was like a yoginam, he was. And this yoginam means he was connected to Krishna through the service of the Bhakti Vedantas. So in our own circle of friends and so on, when we are preaching and so on, we should try to connect people with Krishna. Somehow or other, little service is okay, because then they get blessed. The blessings can take them for many, many lifetimes and eventually deliver them also. So in the same way, Narada Muni became blessed. And this is a very valuable point all of you should consider, that, a little service, is very important. Devotional service is very, very serious in one sense, serious because it saves us from this terrible situation of this material existence. So therefore, it is important for us to meditate on this and see how we can always ensure that we are doing service. It is difficult at the present moment, particularly now, the pandemic, or mostly we are stuck indoors and not able to connect with the Supreme Lord. But somehow or other, we can always preach. This is a very important month. Srila Prabhupada wanted devotees to distribute books. So find different ways. You call your friends, anyone, or even present them during Christmas. Give them some books as a gift. All of you can do that. And you can order deluxe versions of Bhagavad Gita or any books that connects them with Krishna. So Narada Muni, after this service that he did to the Bhakti Vedantas, he then developed extreme affection for them. So when they were leaving, he was crying and saying, I don't want to leave, but they said, no, you just stay there and serve with your mother. And of course, because of the blessings of the Bhakti Vedantas, he became situated very strongly in spiritual life. And we can see now, Narada Muni, he can travel anywhere in the universe, not just material world. He can go directly to Vaikuntha also. He can travel anywhere he desires. Such is the power of devotional service. Sometimes he goes to see Narayana. Sometimes he goes to the earthly planets. He sees Kamsa. He sees Hiranyakashipu. Anyone he wants to see, Indra, Chandra, he can just go. He's free to move. That is the power of spiritual life. You don't need any visa or passport to go to all these places. Once you are spiritually enlightened, you can go anywhere. You don't need green card, blue card, red card, or whatever. It's all free. That is spiritual life. Spiritual life is real freedom. Material life is shackles. Right? So understand that nicely. Okay. Right. So there's no you don't need a special what is that, spaceship or airplane or something like that to go to all these places. You don't need that. Once you become qualified, you just have to think of that and you get to go to those places. That's the siddhi, yoga siddhi. And in our material planet also, one of the highest planets are known as Siddhalokas, Tapaloka, Mahaloka, Siddhaloka, like that. So in the upper planetary systems, you'll find all, and they can do whatever they like. They don't have any airplanes, no spaceship like that. Uh, and they have Siddha. All the 8 Siddhas, Anima, Lagima, Prapti, Siddha, all those they have. So by yogic perfection, you can travel easily. And one can therefore say that when you become a pure devotee, all these potencies are invested in us automatically. We don't have to separately endeavor. So if you remember, I believe in the ninth canto, Durvasa Muni becomes very offensive to Ambarish Maharaj, right? So then he gets so angry with Ambarish Maharaj, and the reason he gets angry is Ambarish Maharaj was fasting for Ekadasi Nirjal, and then the day to break the fast, Durvasa Muni comes, and then he says, "I am hungry." So the king says, "Okay, I'll feed you." Then he says, "Okay, I will go and take bath, and I'll come back." So Ambarish Maharaj goes to take bath, but he takes his bathing and cleaning up, he takes too long. So generally, you have to break fast by a certain time, right? It is not so bad in Kali Yuga, but in the previous Yuga, you have to be very precise. So then Ambarish Maharaj was thinking, I have to break my fast. Otherwise, all the fasting becomes useless. Yeah? We waste the endeavor in fasting. So in consultation with his brahmanas, they said, okay, to break the fast, you can just drink water. So they say drinking is breaking and not breaking, because it's just water, it's not food. And so he drank the water. So then Durvasa Muni, who is able to, has the potency, Trikala Jnana, so he understands. So he saw in his vision that Ambarish Muni took some water and broke his fast. So, but he didn't understand the circumstance. So he came very angrily and he insulted Ambarish Maharaj. And then he was so angry that how dare the king did not respect me? I'm a Brahmana and he should have fed me, but he already broke his fast. But actually, he just took water. And so he insulted Ambarish Maharaj, and then he tried to curse him. And then he wanted to kill him. So he took out his hair and cursed, and a demon came to kill him, a fiery demon. But Ambarish Maharaj just took it that, yeah, if the Muni wants to kill me, so be it. And so he just, accepted and prayed. As soon as he prayed, the Sudarshan Chakra came and destroyed the demon. And then it chased Ambarish Maharaj. He wanted to kill Ambarish Maharaj. Why? Because he was offensive to a Vaishnava. And then he ran everywhere. Ambarish Maharaj ran all over the universe. And then that's the thing. He could run anywhere. How is that? Because Ambarish Maharaj had also these siddhis, like Narada Muni has. So this Siddhaloka residents had this power. And so same way, this powerful Munis, sages, and people like Durvasa Muni, they had so much power. Animal, as remember, Anima, Lagima, Prapti, Siddhi, all those things. So whatever they like, they can do. So, but anyway, the Sudarshan Chakra came, and that's another story. So finally, of course, Durvasa Muni admits his offense and asks Ambarish Maharaj for forgiveness, and then the Sudarshan Chakra left. Actually, he goes to Vaikuntha planet, Durvasa Muni, and tells Narayana, Vishnu, and say, please protect me. Your chakra is chasing me. So Narayan say, I can't do anything. My chakra will still chase you. But you have to ask for forgiveness, from Ambarish Maharaj. And so finally, after he asked for that permission, then the chakra left. So you can see, you don't have to be a powerful yogi. If you're a Vaishnava, you can display all these powerful things. You can show people the potency of Krishna's mercy. It's not that you want these potencies or power. It's just that you can display it when the need is there. So like Narada Muni, he needs to travel. So he has all these siddhis with him. Okay. And so Vaishnava, they don't require any of this. So don't meditate when you read all the Mahabharata and the Ramayana. Don't meditate on having all this power, right? All the prowess and the magic power. Sometimes you may think, I wish I have the power. I can travel to India very quickly. Now you don't need those things. Now you have Zoom. If it's stable, you can have a long discussion. If it's unstable, then you just wait for a little while and it should be okay. Right? So as Vaishnavas, we don't need all these things. We don't need to become materially powerful. All we need is to learn how to surrender to Krishna. Because once you're surrendered to Krishna, automatically you will have power coming to you. Very automatic. You don't need anything. So that's the position of a Vaishnava, like Narada Muni is. Why? Because Krishna is who? He is Yatra Yogeshwara Krishna, right? In the 18th chapter, Bhagavad Gita, that he has everything. All the opulences are there. So he can easily bestow to his devotees. When the devotees need it, he will display it and he bestow. Otherwise, we don't need it. We don't need all those power mystic things. Why? What is the use? Prabhupada says, a poor man, if he's poor, he has to work very hard to get some money, right? No choice. But if he's a wealthy man, why should he work? The money is already there. So similarly, as a devotee, we don't need to endeavor to get the yogic powers. It's already there. If we need it, Krishna will make it available to us. So therefore, we need to take shelter of Krishna, surrender to Krishna. Then strength, wealth, reputation, wisdom, beauty, renunciation, all of those can be revealed in ourselves when it's required. Like that. So to come to the point of what is that? Under Krishna's focus is considered to be like samadhi or trance, like that. So that means our minds are completely restrained. We take away our mind from material activities, material objects. That is actually true yoga. Why? Because we see ourselves as spiritual beings, servants of the Supreme Lord, and therefore there's no need to relish the material energy. That is not proper for us. In our original stage, right? We become very joyful when we are connected directly to Krishna. Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma na sochate na kankshate, right? No worries, no distress. Why? Because we are in equilibrium, in sync with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma. That means no more material entanglement. Therefore, Prasannatma, happy. If you are unhappy, it's because we are entangled with the material things. That's the only reason, and that's a fact. We are too much entangled, and material nature is very what we call chanchala, and at the same time is very deceptive also. What it gives you as a joy, sometimes it gives you unhappiness, distress, anxiety, and all those, and so on and so forth. So when we connect with Krishna, real joy is revealed, and therefore there's no other reason to meditate on anything material for us. No need, like that. So once you are focused in Krishna, one of the wonderful qualities that happen is you become fixed, nishta, completely fixed. Sometimes we practice Krishna consciousness, and then we, after a few months or even a couple of years, we feel despondent and say, oh, I'm not getting any taste. I miss my friends. I miss going to movies. I miss all those things. I miss my colleagues and so on. But those are just temporary. Sometimes the Lord is testing us to see how much we really want him. So therefore, he puts us in a very precarious situation, so that then you have to rethink And you have to think outside the box and say, am I in the box or out of the box? Am I in Maya or out of Maya? And so it forces us to think, am I really Krishna conscious? Or is this just another phase in my life? And if Krishna conscious is perfection, then why am I feeling despondent? That means my practice is not good. Okay, clarity in thought must be there. And then you have to revise and see where you are missing in your connection with Krishna. It happens to all of us. Do not feel that only you are the one who's suffering. All of us, we are all suffering, and sometimes we do very well in our Krishna consciousness, and sometimes we don't do very well. Why? Because we are always in constant flux with material energy. Okay, so when we sincerely connect with Krishna day to day, year to year, then Krishna knows that this devotee is sincere. And then Krishna also sees we don't want anything material from Krishna. So there's no question of I wanting something profit from Krishna. Krishna, I'll do some arti, you give me something, right? I do some service, where's my profit? No, we shouldn't think like that. Just sincerely, Prabhupada says do sincere service. Then you will get everything. There's no need for trying this or that, Yasmin stite guruna api dukena na vichalyate. If one is situated under the shelter of Krishna's lotus feet, then guruna api dukena na vichalyate. Then any kind of dangerous situation is taken away. It does not disturb you. You will be focused. Just like Ambarish Maharaj. Even though the demon came to kill him, he was focused. He was thinking, if this is so, let it be so. If I had to die, so be it. Krishna, help me. So in the same way, in the 7th canto, Prahlad Maharaj was also harassed by his father Hiranyakashipu. So much problem the father was giving him. But he was patient. He didn't get disturbed. So in the same way, our practice, the regulation, the daily sadhana must bring us to this stage of becoming fearless. That yes, things can happen, danger can come. But what does Krishna say? He says, Konteya pratijana hi name bhakta pranashyate. Don't be afraid. I will protect you. Declare boldly, Arjuna, to the whole world that my devotees never perish. So each of us must act in such a way to uphold Krishna's words. Right? Otherwise, what are we doing to show Krishna as the Supreme Lord? So in that way, we have to show also. So Krishna's orders are there, just like Arjuna, he was ordered by Krishna, fight. He said, you have to fight. He didn't say fight to cause problem. He said fight to establish dharma. So not that Krishna say you fight and you say, no, I have taken shelter of you. Now I want Shanti. No, that is not the case. That is disobedience. If Krishna says you fight, right? If Krishna says go and commit suicide, you have to do that. It seems contradictory, but that's how it is. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu rejected who? Junior Haridas Thakur. Right? If you read the pastime, finally he commits suicide in the Yamuna like that. And then Mahaprabhu becomes happy. Because why? He established the principle of sannyas. So he serves Mahaprabhu, but the service may seem to be a negative service. It may not appear, because we all like, right? We all have our own vision of what is correct, what is wrong. Right? And all of us are thinking, I will die a good death. Where is such a thing as a good death? Have you seen anyone dying happily? Or did anyone come back and say, I had a good death? Right? There's no such thing. Dying is dying. So we should be very clear about these things. Our life should be whatever Krishna says, that means through devotees, through reading of the Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, we understand what Krishna wants, what Srila Prabhupada wants, what the Acharya wants, then we do our best. That is surrender. You know, not come up with our own intellect and say, no, maybe this is what we should be doing. No, maybe we should adjust. You know, who are you? You're not even an Acharya yet. You know, uh, some of us not even chanting 16 rounds, and yet we have so much amazing ideas that sprouts out of our imagination. You know, so yeah, so that is full surrender. Like Arjuna, he said, yes, Krishna, whatever you say, I will do. Or the same with any your gurus. When they ask you, we do it like that. So we should become very fixed. So in the second chapter, Krishna tells Arjuna, Vyavasayatmika buddhi eke kuru nandana. Be focused in that. If you're not focused in the desire to please Krishna, then what is the problem? Bahusaka hi anantascha. That means your thing becomes too many things. Your mind will be focused in too many things. And if your mind is focused on too many things, buddhayo vyasayinam. Yeah. That means your mind becomes too many things to focus. And if there's too many things, you cannot actually do things properly. Right? It will be like if you put food on the plate of a dog's platter, the dog will eat, it will be like random, everywhere it will be scattered. So that's how your brain will be, you know, it'll be scattered all over the place. So Prabhupada's point is that we should all be fixed in the instructions of Krishna, instructions of the Acharya, then the life can become very successful. And that is actually the secret. Srila Prabhupada himself says that whatever he is successful is because he just followed the instructions of his spiritual master. So therefore, we should see that we all are given an opportunity here to pull ourselves away and out of this entanglement in this material existence. We are all entangled. There's no one here who can say you are not entangled. You know? Each and every one of us are grossly or sublimely entangled. You know, either from physical to mental. You're entangled somehow. You know, either family, either assets, either your stock market, whatever. But you're entangled. You know, it's there. You cannot run away from that. So based on these principles that Srila Prabhupada highlights and wants us to consider, we can see here also that how that taking the example of Narada Muni in this particular verse, it is very interesting. He's not an educated person. He's a little boy. He's not coming from a cultured family. Just a Sudrani's son. And what was his qualification? Nirupito balaka eva yoginam. He was engaged as a boy servant to the yogis. So that's a secret, you know. Then sushrusane, that means service. He was always doing service. Ravrishi, during the rainy season, he didn't know what else to do. It was raining, cannot go out to play, so he served the saintly person. So it's very important. Whenever you get the opportunity, serve sincerely. Anyone, doesn't matter. They don't have to be floating 1 foot above the ground for you to serve. Anyone who visits, who you consider them to be, you know, superior to you, you go and serve them. You know, Krishna in the heart sees your intention of service, not that you are serving only this person or that person. So if you serve sincerely, whoever it is, a bhakta who's traveling to a sannyasi who comes, don't see any difference. See how you can serve them, that they feel pleased that Krishna is taking care of them like that. All right, so that's very important. Otherwise, you know, what is the point, you know? Now, the sannyasis like Narada Muni, they are traveling all over the world, all over the country, everywhere they go. And what is their business? The business is to give whoever they meet, Yare Deka, Tare Krishna Upa Desha. Right? Whatever you meet, whoever you meet, give them some knowledge about Krishna. Very important. Now, sometimes you meet your colleagues in your workplace, they may not know, but you can give the small books. There are so many small books. Huh? So give them some small books and they will appreciate that. And tell them, this is a time of pandemic. These books will help you broaden your vision to see things in a different way. Not that I want you to change your religion or anything like, no, just continue worshiping your God. But then this helps you to become more broad-minded. Okay, that's how it should be. So that is how this Bhakti Vedantas, during the time of Narada Muni, they were traveling. So they travel wherever they go, they speak the glories of Krishna because they are Vaishnavas. When they congregate, they speak only about Krishna, glorify about Krishna. But when we all congregate, we gossip, right? We say, oh, this and that, or what's happening with Modi in India, or who won the cricket, Pakistan or India, like that, and whoever is it, but I don't know who's playing. They become your demigods and gods, how many wickets they hit or whatever, like that. So, so you should try to give up those attachments, uh, you know, just make sure you get LBW'd or whatever, and then you can go and fix in the lotus feet of Krishna, like that. So yeah, understand the powerful power that you can achieve simply by serving Vaishnavas. And that's what this Bhagavatam is all about. And particularly if you read in the second canto also, uh, where it is said that all kinds of personality, all kinds of personality, like the the people living in where is that, in China, in the lower parts of India where people are not so qualified, the Greeks, the Germans, the Russians, the Turks, the Yavanas, the Mongols, even all of them who are addicted to sinful life, they can be purified simply by taking shelter of Krishna. Simply like that. Why? Because he's so powerful. The Supreme Lord is very powerful, and we need to accept that position. Yeah? His position is like the sun. For example, if someone not so much in America, but in other countries, third world countries, you can see people walk in the street and they pass urine and they go like that. So, but the sunlight can dry that place, and then it will purify that place, even though the person has urinated. The power of sun, but the sun does not get contaminated. So in the same way, no matter how sinful people are, when they come in touch with Krishna, Krishna purifies them, and nothing will happen to Krishna. In the old days, the Brahmanas and all will say, oh, don't touch me, this and that. Because why? They are in bodily concept. How can they get destroyed of their culture if somebody touches them accidentally? So that's not the proper understanding. Those who are even less than Shudras, fifth grade, sixth class people, they can also be elevated. Generally, we say first class is Brahmana, second class is Kshatriya, then Vaishya, and so on. And Sudras are fourth class. But there are fifth class, sixth class, 10th class people in this society. And Prabhupada says all these are like Chandalas and so on. But you can see that these low class people, they just do what they want based on their senses. They eat all kinds of things, insects, some animals, dogs. They even eat, pigs and dogs and cats sometimes, and also they eat cow anyway. Nowadays it's so become a common practice. So all these practices, Srila Prabhupada says, is fifth class practice. That means low class practice, eating all these things. And then, then Prabhupada says, now such a practice has become high class. Okay, now you see in society, if somebody eats like this, they say, oh, he's a first grade man. Just see, what was the business of the fifth class has become the business of the first class so-called politicians. Right? We can see that all these unqualified people, they are running for, particularly in US now, right? They all run for the presidential election. What fifth class, sixth class. So all these people run to vote for them. So if you vote 5th and 6th class person, what class person are you? Then you must be lower than them. Otherwise, why do you elect such a person, right? So therefore, we shouldn't get involved in these things unless the person has some ethics and moral standards that is comparable to your standards. Then okay, but otherwise, don't go after all these things. And this is all nonsense. Huh? Then what happens? You pick a 7th or 10th class man, and the 10th class man is ruling you. The whole country is ruled by a 10th class guy. So how can you be happy then? Right? How can you be happy? So it's pointless. Sometimes we argue, saying, oh, this is wrong, that is wrong. But then we make all the bad choices and then we expect everything to be very nice. And so that is not possible. There cannot be any social tranquility. So you can see so much social upheaval is going on. It's not possible. The only thing is Krishna consciousness can purify even the 10th class man and make him or her into first class. And that's why it's important that if you have an opportunity for this month, go and give books, give to all these people, and then they will be purified. Right? Krishna says, right? Mam hi partha vyapastritya ye pishu papa yona yaha. Right? Krishna says that those who take shelter in me, even if they are of lower birth, Shudras, women, Vaishya, Shudras, like that, they can approach the supreme destination. And that's why we have to take this process seriously, and we can help so many people. Remember, Lord Nityananda, Haridas Thakur, they went from door to door and they were preaching, and they said, if we can help Jagai and Madai, then we can save everyone. So nowadays you look outside of our society, 90% of the population is Jagai and Madais, Yeah, it is. Their lifestyle is like that, They don't know themselves that they are fallen, That is a sad thing, avidya. They don't have vidya. If they have vidya, then they can act on it. They're all avidya, ignorant. And then if you send your children to school, the children are only studying avidya. So how can they become qualified people later on? So it's not possible. It's not possible. So in Kali Yuga, people are suffering. They're all fallen, all meat eaters, all drunkards, all 5th class, 6th class, 7th class, 10th class men and women. And not only that, they're all puffed up also. and Prabhupada says they are not even gentlemen, They're very harsh people. So if you are a gentleman, then you don't want to live in this material world. So you don't want to stay here. So what we should do is we help those who are unfortunate, and then we can save them. Then we can get out of this place. By saving others, we will save ourselves. Okay, that is Krishna consciousness. Patitta Pavana, Tava Avatar. That is the position of Mahaprabhu. So Narotam Das Thakur, he sings like that. Mosama Patita Prabhu na paibe ara. So he says, I am most fallen. You can't find anyone more fallen than me. So therefore you show mercy. So to get mercy, again I emphasize, try and see if you can go and give books for others. All right. And then you will become very qualified to go back to God here. Yeah. Otherwise, so many lifetimes we have to take birth, and then so many lifetimes we have to suffer, and then we have to go through this samsara cycle. It's not something that will help us. So swalpam api asya dharmasya. So do your service, some devotional service, and you get some. There's no loss or diminution. Krishna says a little advancement on this path will protect you from the greatest danger. So if you do some devotional service, some 1 book or 2 book there, people will benefit. Then Mahato Bhaya. So no more great fear. You don't have such a fearful situation that you have to take birth again. Tata dehantara prapi dhirastatra namuyati. So it's a dangerous position to come back and take birth. But if you are knowledgeable and if you know what you're doing, then dhirastatra namuyati. Then you become sober. I don't have to worry about this thing. You don't have to worry, I get another body. Even if you get another body, you pray that you can remember Krishna. Okay, otherwise what is the point? So therefore, in this particular verse, we can see Narada Muni's point is we can come from any fallen situation, but if we take up the process nicely and we help others at the same time, we can go back to Godhead in this lifetime. So I'll stop here. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Questions, Prabhu? You take questions?
I guess so, if you have time.
Yes, we have, Prabhu. Devotees, please ask questions to Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, amazing lecture. Thank you for that.
Well, it's all Prabhupada now.
Yes, thank you, Prabhu. So Prabhu said we should distribute books. In saving others, you saving yourself. How does that happen, Prabhu?
Well, that's devotional service, right? If you look at the 18th chapter, Krishna says, for you, a person becomes most dear to him if he teaches this secret to others. Okay, so by giving books, you are helping them understand their own situation, understand their suffering, and understand that actually is a better situation for them by connecting with Krishna. We cannot speak to a person in 1 hour or 2 hours and make them a devotee. It's not possible. It takes a long time process. It takes months and years before people really surrender completely. Yeah, so books will help. Yeah. And then Krishna will become pleased with you, and Krishna will become pleased with the other person. Therefore, 2% benefits. Okay? Yeah. Thank you.
Prabhu, can we understand that like by distributing, so we are engaging, we need to convince them and we are glorifying the Krishna. So in that process, our conviction also become concrete. So in that way, can we?
Yes, very good point. Yes, yes. As you are distributing, you may or may not, but you can see after a while there's a change in heart of those people. And therefore, you are convinced that this process works. Actually, you should know as you are practicing that it works. Right or not? And then therefore you are giving the books to others because you know this thing works for me. It must work for others. I am so fallen and it worked on me. So why not work on these people? Yeah. But you are right. For those who are still doubting, they should see that this by distributing, their hearts will change. Generally, the reason we distribute is so that our hard-heartedness goes away.
Mm.
Yeah, not so much as convincing ourselves. We should be convinced before we go out to distribute books. Yeah. If you don't have conviction and if you give a book, the person taking can understand you are not convinced yourself because you won't be able to speak it properly. Yeah.
Yeah. No, often people say that Prabhu, like whenever they're distributing books or giving the lecture, we are doing just for our purification. So I wanted to connect there, like
Yeah, that is also there because you're taking a humble position. You're giving up your false ego, and that is the purification process. And when you go out on the streets trying to convince and give people a book, you have to turn to only Krishna and your spiritual master. No one else can come and tell you. Therefore, purification happens at that when you are convinced at that point that without the mercy of Krishna and Guru, I am nobody. I can't even give this one book. Yeah, that's the purification. Yeah, the humility that manifests in you is the purification. Yeah.
okay. Yeah. Prabhu, and one more question I got, like I faced when I'm distributing books. So, person asked that in Srimad Bhagavatam, full of exemplary devotees like Prahlad Maharaj, Dhruv Maharaj, Ambarish Maharaj. So, where is the normal devotee, like normal person who have elevated to that transcendental position?
So we just read about Narada Muni.
Mm.
He was a maid servant, servant, the son of a. Is it not ordinary enough for you?
So, any other Prabhu we can quote? One in Agni, like.
Well, if you look at all of them, right, in the beginning, all these devotees, for example, you take Bharat Maharaj, he was just a king, but then he practiced very sincerely, then he became very advanced, and then he made a mistake like an ordinary person and became a deer. And then Krishna, out of his mercy, allowed him to remember. And then he became Jad Bharat. And as Jad Bharat, he was behaving like a normal person, or in fact, he behaved like a dumb person. Why? Because he wanted to meditate on Krishna like that. And then if you look at Krishna's pastime, there's so many people. The fruit seller, she comes to give fruit, and then Krishna takes the fruit from her because she wanted to serve Krishna. She also made advancement. And then the Dobi Wala, right, who gave the clothing to Krishna, and then because he gave the clothing, that is also a devotional service like that, and they made advancement like that. So that's quite a lot if you keep reading it, the Bhagavatam, right? For example, even Prahlad Maharaj and all his friends in the Gurukul, they all became devotees simply by listening to Prahlad Maharaj, you know. So the it is there. It's just that, you know, we the highlight is the devotee. Or if you look at King Indradumna, he was cursed, right? And then he became Gajendra, the elephant. And, so, and as an elephant is less than a human being, he also looked up to Krishna because he remembered some prayers. So the whole point is one has to still always focus on this supreme personality of Godhead, and then one makes advancement like that. Yeah. Otherwise, you don't get. Or you can look at the fourth canto. There's the story of Puranjana, right? So Puranjana's pastime is ordinary king, and he meets some different personalities, and he goes through so much difficulty. But ultimately, in his last life, he becomes a woman, a princess, and then goes back to Godhead. So it is there. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Yeah. Hare Krishna. Yeah.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Yes, Mataji, Haribo.
Prabhu, thank you. When I saw Jaya Mataji's WhatsApp message that you are coming for a class, I felt very, very blessed, Prabhu. I journey has started with you, Prabhu. For me and Pankaj, meeting you at the start of SSR class, and it feels like a gift today's class, Prabhu, because right after our SSR exam, you came for a class, and I don't know whether Satyasai Prabhu did this by design, and we just finished our exam yesterday, and this is like a candy or a gift to have your class, Prabhu. So at important points in our life, somehow we are getting your association, and it's always exciting because then you help us to determine the next steps, Prabhu. So I hope I'm able to explain. There's a lot which I want to talk to you, Prabhu. So Prabhu, for neophyte devotees like us, me and Pankaj, who didn't even have faith in Krishna and kept questioning and kept questioning, and somehow through these classes, and of course lots of devotees have helped us, it's finally clicking for us, Prabhu. So my question, Prabhu, is just taking just a few notes of your class from today. What would be your message for us who are materially comfortably situated, right? Because you talked about how we all are materially entangled and we keep entangling. It's such a vicious circle. So Prabhu, what would be your message to some of us as we are making choices in our life where we want to spend our time? Especially Vaishnava etiquette class spent so much time around association of devotees and non-devotees. And Prabhu, the thing which I'm trying to work on is how do I remove envy from my heart?
So the question is how to remove envy.
Sorry, I mean, there's so much. I'm not doing a good job in terms of explaining my question, but sorry about that, Prabhu.
Ultimately, to just make it very simple without beating around the bush, is we have to take up the position of service. Envy is because we think we are owed by others, or we are better than others. We look down on others. So if you learn how to serve, then you will find that you are not actually becoming envious of that person. When you serve a person, you see, maybe in the initial stages you may see faults, but if you always have a good relationship, you will start seeing the good qualities of that person. And that's where you are changing, your heart is changing. the whole idea of Krishna consciousness is to have a change of heart. If you look at the second canto, in the first few chapters, there's a chapter, I think that the whole canto is called, chapter is called A Change of Heart. Okay. That means we look at things from a materialistic point of view. If you look at things from a materialistic point of view, we want to be the controller. And when we cannot control the situation, we become envious. All right. Ultimately, the envy goes back to Krishna because he's the Parameshwara. Ishvara, Parama, Krishna. Of so many controllers, we all want to control, but the main controller is Krishna. And until we recognize that, the envy will remain in the heart. So the best way to get rid of envy is to serve a senior Vaishnava. All right. So you have many devotees there in Austin. You serve them, and sometimes they may say something that you may not like. Right? It's inevitable because we are in the material world. The goal is for you to accept that chastisement in a favorable way, and then you can overcome your enviousness. That means you are surrendering the fact that you want to control. I want to feel good, I want to control. But when you accept such a position that they tell you off and you feel angry inside, but you must think with intelligence. This is good for me. Of course, we are not talking about abusive relationship. We are talking about devotional relationship. The chastisement is for the benefit. And sometimes the gurus chastise. And I don't know how many of you have chastisement from gurus, but they can be very heavy. But the whole idea is to get rid of the false ego. The living entity has an ego that is cannot be measured actually. When he comes into the material world, his ego is not definable. He thinks he is so good at everything, right? Just like many people, and it's a fact, when they look at themselves in the mirror, they think they are very good looking, right? But then when they go to a beauty contest, they realize they are not so good looking, but they will not accept it. They will be very unhappy. So that the inability to accept is due to false ego and enviousness. And therefore, generally, people who are envious, what do? They try to destroy that which is better than them so that they will look good, right? What is that? Sleeping Beauty, right? The queen, she didn't like anyone looking better than her, right? So she wanted to kill her own daughter. So that's the enviousness. Yeah. So, but when we serve a devotee, we are forced to curb our materialistic false ego. And that's where surrender comes in. And surrender can take place through association of devotees and through reading of Srila Prabhupada's books. That is purifying. You go out on book distribution, your enviousness will be gone very quickly. So these are some challenges, but the very easy, best way is to do service. Yeah.
So, Prabhu, I have a follow-up question. This was very helpful, Prabhu. And if we start feeling that in corporate world, like you talked about how 90% of the people are like fifth, sixth, seventh, so they're not devotees. And what happens is that when we start feeling that envy in corporate world, we start driving ourselves even more. Okay, that person is doing this. Maybe now I'm going to sign up for 5 and just to go to the next level. So that's the question which comes in my mind is that can I be, like you said, fixed and so focused on the path that I know exactly what my priorities are and not get driven by that whole cycle. And
Yeah.
8-10 hours there, so that association of devotees is not there. And I mean,
True.
if Prabhu chastises me or Mataji or you, Prabhu, at least I have respect for you. I can take that, right? But sometimes we don't have that respect for those people there at corporate world. So I think that's the struggle as well for me, Prabhu.
Well, one of the things all of you should understand is each and every one of you or us, we have our own karma to go through also. And our desires to be fulfilled. To some extent, it has to be fulfilled. We may read and say, oh, I should not be so ambitious. But then if you don't do it, then for the rest of your life, you'll be thinking about, I did not achieve that. There are many people like that, many devotees like that. So you need to strike a balance, how much is enough? Okay, so that's something you need to venture and analyze yourself and say, if is this enough? The satisfaction will happen when you practice your Krishna consciousness faithfully. There will come a point where you will know this is enough. Just like when there's a pizza party, everyone is excited and they will eat so much, right? But there's a limit also how much you can eat. At one stage you'll tell the owner, the host, saying, look, enough, it's so full. Why? Because you're satisfied, and you can't put any more. So in the same way, even in corporate world or so on, you can define your path to ascension, but after a while you should say, this is enough, I've done, and it's satisfying. I don't need any more of this corporate mumbo jumbo. So that's how you should define your parameters. I would say, ask yourself, when do you want to retire? Uh, otherwise, you are thinking, I want to be a CEO. If that's your goal, then, go for it. But if you can't achieve it after a few tries, then you should redefine your goals. It doesn't mean spiritual life doesn't mean you neglect your material goals also. It should balance. You must strike a balance. You have to look at it and reflect on it and see how it's going to help you in the long run. It's easy to say, oh, I want to become the next this and next that, and then you strive for it, but your karma is not going to give you, or your karma is going to give you. So once you see that, then I'm going to get it, right? Now, for example, look at, I was just reading the life of Obama, right? In this young life, he couldn't move in the political very quickly, but at the age of 40, in 10 years, he became a president, he became a senator, everything. It's unimaginable. People just say, why? Because his karma kicked in. But he tried, he knew in his heart there's something he could do, and therefore it happened. So in the same way, you will know in corporate world, okay, I don't want to have this thing. Therefore, if I don't want this, then why am I pursuing it anymore, right? You could quit the job, but if you still have attachment to it, then pursue it and see where you can end up, but not give up your spiritual life for it. It has to be balanced. If you're going crazy working, then it's not good for you. Right? But if you enjoy working it, then maybe you still have to work a bit more until you become unhappy working. Right? Yeah, those are ways to gauge yourself. I'm not happy working. Why am I working? I'm a fool.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. This class was for me. You come here for me, so please keep coming, Prabhu.
I mean, Satya Sai plans all this, so you have to ask him,
Satya Sai, Prabhu, we are putting in a request, please. Please, Prabhu. Thank you, Prabhu, so much.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, that goes without saying, Mataji. Okay.
Yeah. Hare Krishna Prabhu. I think you are doing well, Prabhu, in Houston.
Am I? Thank you. By your blessings and prayers.
No, Prabhu. Very happy to see you, Prabhu, and very nice class.
Actually, I can't see you. You look like the Brahman effulgence. Yeah.
No, it's okay, Prabhu.
I think it's getting better now.
Sorry, Prabhuji.
Anyway,
Okay,
from
Prabhu.
one effulgence to another. Yeah, that's better.
Sorry, Prabhu, for the inconvenience.
No, just
I hope I want to see you, Prabhu, in the Sastin. Instead of class, I want to see you, Prabhu, directly.
We are seeing directly now.
Very happy.
Yes, Mataji, what's your question?
Nothing, Prabhu. Just I want to say Hare Krishna to you.
Oh,
Very
thank you very
happy to
much.
see, listen your
Yeah.
class, Prabhu.
Thank
Very,
you
very
for
happy.
your
Nice
well
question,
wishes.
Shika Mataji.
Huh?
Nice. Huh? Nice question, Shika Mataji. It's a, one point I also faced that kind of things, but hold it strongly, and I think it will resolve. I'm sorry to interrupt your class. Thank you.
No, you didn't interrupt. That's nice realization. Yeah. So Shika Mataji, you can talk to Mataji here, and she has gone through something in her life. So part of Krishna consciousness is sharing one's realizations also. Yeah. So that's good. You can say.
It has to come. Yeah, it has to come within Prabhu. It takes time. That's
Yeah.
all.
So you can help her
I
understand.
feel that.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhu. We love the Austin devotees. They're
Nice. Anything
Hare
else?
Krishna Prabhuji. Dandavat Pranam. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you
Hare
so much
Krishna.
for the class.
Yes.
Rarely that, I start hearing somebody's class, all the questions I already planned to ask, you already answered them. So thank you very much. I had a question, but not relevant to the topic you have. If you have time, if you're okay, I'll just ask. Maybe sometime later I can get the answer. Yeah, do we have time? Otherwise, I can just...
We'll take one question, Mataji. Go ahead.
Okay. So, Prabhuji, I wanted to ask about the tattva of Yashoda Maya. Who is Yashoda Maya? Is she Jiva Tattva, or is she an expansion of different energy of Krishna? Long time I heard something back and I can't find the lecture, so I just wanted some clarification.
What do you mean by, what did you hear?
Long time back, what I remember was that she's an expansion. She's an expansion of the Sandhani Shakti of Balramji. So is that what I remember right, or is she Jiva Tattva?
I have never, I must confess, I have not heard of that. And so I cannot comment on that. I can look into it. As far as I understood it, she is a Jiva Tattva. Yeah. But I can look into that and see if she's a potency of the Sandhini Shakti. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Rekha Mataji, we are running out of time. Is it? Can we take it offline? Prabhu has to have prasadam. Thank you very much. Thank you, devotees, and thank you, Prabhu. And Prashant Prabhu will give a thank you note. Prashant Prabhu, go ahead.
Hare Krishna, Radha Krishna Prabhuji. Thank you so much for your wonderful class. It was very divine to hear you use Narada as example, as growing up as just an ordinary maidservant son, and just by doing the little service during the rainy season months, he was able to connect with Krishna through his service and develop affection for Krishna. And I think you gave the example of just by doing that little service, he became such a great Muni. So the other thing I was particularly was important to me was what you said about being fixed and Krishna testing us in being fixed. If even if there's entanglement in material energy, that's simply just Krishna testing us. So if it's physical, emotional, or whatever entanglement it is, it's just an opportunity for us to realize that, use our intelligence, and question our suffering and understand what our real position is. And our real position is, you have to be engaged in devotional service sincerely, intentionally, and by doing that, we'll get to surrender and purification simply by taking shelter in Krishna. And finally, I think I will take the challenge that you gave, which was, distribute books to family, friends, and other folks this month to help them be, or help them, introspect, and then also do that so I can do the same thing.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Hare Krishna.
So thank you, Prabhu, for the wonderful class. Let us now show our gratitude to Radha Krishna Prabhu by loudly chanting Hare Krishna mantra one time together. Hare Krishna, Hare
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 Krishna.
Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare
Thank you, Radha Krishna Prabhu. Sorry for the time. So please
No.
feel free to disconnect. We are going to do a quick announcement and Narsinga Arti, and we'll conclude the program.
Right. Thank you, Satyasa Prabhu, for your kindness, for inviting me. And thank you to all of you for listening in on. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Prabhu.
Hare
Hare Krishna. Radha Prabhu, can you make a quick announcement and the book distribution announcement? Yeah.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. So we have few announcements. First of all, the Gita Jayanti is coming on December 25th, and we are going to recite the whole Bhagavad Gita on that day. Veena Mataji has sent out a sign-up sheet. Please sign up as soon as possible. Today is the deadline for sign-up, so that we can schedule and plan everything. And the next one is, next program is on New Year's Eve. That is on December 31st evening. We have a Maha Sankirtan Yajna planned, and please see the message from Neha Mataji and Dasmai Mataji, and please do the sign up as soon as possible so that they can also plan very well. And Ekadashi fasting is on this Thursday, so ideal time to do fast from beans and grains. Then also we want to give a special thank you to everybody who contributed for the Tuesday giving program, and that was amazing. Everyone participated so very well, and so that is a very wonderful spirit for the great cause. So thank you once again, everyone on behalf of Hare Krishna Temple of Austin. And also now I'll pass on to Satyarupa Prabhu to give an update on book distribution.
Hare Krishna, all of you. So as we all know, Shastradhan program is going on from last 2 months, and so many devotees generously sponsored for distributing the knowledge given by Krishna, that is Bhagavad Gita books. So far we have received 41 boxes. It's like 656 Gitas. Haribol to each and everyone who have sponsored, and it's amazing. And like now at another month, this month is like Gita Jayanti is falling on. So if anyone still wants to donate or they want to add extra sets, it's a nice month to sponsor. And I'm very excited to inform you all that we have received like 8 boxes. So 128 like Bhagavad Gitas from outside of our congregation. So it's really great. And thanks for working for that. And so distribution part, like 3 boxes. So the sponsored devotees, actually we will give the boxes to them, or some devotees, they sponsor the set, we will distribute. So in that first category, like who have sponsored, took the boxes, like 3 boxes sponsored and taken the books. And the second category, like where sponsored Bhagavad Gitas, we are distributing. So what we are doing is we are placing in the grocery stores. So far we have distributed 13 boxes, which is 208 Bhagavad Gitas. So it's really amazing. And so total books so far distributed is 259 Bhagavad Gitas, and 2 Krishna books. And we are inviting more people who are interested to get the sponsorships, or we want means distributing the books. So please contact me so we can plan. Thank you, all of you. Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Thank you very much, Prabhu, for the wonderful service, and thank you, devotees, for sponsoring and distributing. So we are going to the last part of the program, which is Narshingarati. Our dear Kirtan is going to do Narshingarati, then we'll conclude it. Kirtan?
Yes, Prabhu. Would you like me to start?
Yes, please. Yeah. Kirtan, your voice is too low, Kirtan. Still it's low. Your voice is low, Kirtan.
Now better, Prabhu?
Yeah, better.
Okay. Namaste Narayana
That was wonderful, Kirtan. Very devotional. Thank you very much. So with that, we'll conclude our Sunday Feast program today here. Sorry we ran over the time, but I thought it's worth it because we got Prabhu's association. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining, and have a wonderful Krishna conscious week. We will see you all next week. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.